Welcome to Charlotte Sports Report. I'm Dalton Beard.
And I'm Justin Jeffers.
Today, the crazy NBA free agency, LeBron James going to Cleveland, and the latest on Jimmy Graham.
Also coming up, we're going to show you the renovations inside Bank of America Stadium, and the buzz is back here in Charlotte. We're going to take you an inside look to the Hornets.
All that and more on Charlotte Sports Report. Stay tuned.
This is Charlotte Sports Report, episode Beta 1, recorded Monday, July 14th, 2014.
Welcome to Charlotte Sports Report. I'm Dalton Beard.
And I'm Justin Jeffers.
Arbitration hearings for Jimmy Graham's camp did not go according to plan in this dead period of the NFL preseason. Jimmy Graham reportedly going after a $12.1 million contract was denied based on position, a $5 million gap from the max payment of a wide receiver to a tight end. Now, Justin, in my opinion, I think the value of a player should go with his production. And Jimmy Graham with 3,800 reception yards in the past 4 seasons, along with 41 touchdowns, I think the proof's in the pudding for this guy.
Absolutely. I mean, the proof you could just say the proof's in the pudding when he plays against the Panthers. You know, this guy crushes us, and he goes out to the slot, I mean, what, like 60% of the time or more?
66% of the time.
It's ridiculous. He's lining up at receiver position more than half of the time. You rarely see him. I mean, he is a good blocker. He's a fundamentally good blocker, but, you know, he is a pass catcher and a touchdown maker for these guys.
Well, I think the emergence of the tight end position has definitely gone and came a long way in the past 5 years, going back to Peyton Manning when his security blanket was Dallas Clark. And Dallas Clark was the type of tight end that you looked for in the NFL. Now, they're looking for power forwards. Jimmy Graham, I would have to say him along with one other tight end in the league are the only ones capable of making a double move on a safety, on an NFL safety. Now, in my opinion, that is a hybrid type player, and I feel that it's just unfair to him to not pay him that extra money. He should be the first $10 million tight end, and I'm afraid, you know, coming from a New Orleans fan, I'm afraid if we don't make him the first $10 million tight end, someone else will. Yeah,
I mean, you could think of a few just off the top of your head who are in that same category. You know, Vernon Davis. You know, Vernon's one of the fastest tight ends to ever play the position, and he still doesn't have the productivity that Jimmy does. And I think Jimmy was the right guy. Like you said, he was the right guy to try to take that first step. And I think with time that he will get that. I think that the positions will evolve. The NFL will evolve, as it always does. You go back to guys like Tim Brown, who played both ways.
Right.
In this day's game, you can't have guys playing both ways. But the guys you do have, when you're talking about $5 million, you know, $5 million that he's missing out.
Based on his position now. Has nothing to do with his productivity.
Yeah, I mean, he's catching more touchdowns than Marcus Colston has.
Oh, he's definitely the Saints' leading receiver. And that's what I have a hard time understanding. And a couple of NFL veterans, Hall of Fame players have spoke out on this. Shannon Sharpe came out and said, you know, I hate that the situation is what it is for Graham, who in my opinion is a deserving player. But even coming from Sharpe, he said at the end of the day, he's still a tight end. And that bothers me.
Yeah, especially from a guy like Shannon, who you think he would be on board with it,
right,
you know, with the hard work and the way his career ended for him. You would think he'd be all about backing him for the money, and it just the numbers speak for themselves when it comes to Jimmy. I mean, he's a freak. I mean, he's a freak on the football field, and you can put 2 guys on him and he'll still out jump you. You know, so the proof is in the pudding, like you said.
Yeah, 6'7", 265 pounds. The guy can really do it all. He is a matchup nightmare in the red zone. One of the better middle linebackers in the league, I feel, is Luke Kuechly. And Kuechly couldn't contain this guy in the end zone. I don't think there's a player in the NFL that can stick with Jimmy Graham in the end zone, because it all comes down to his size, and that's something you can't coach.
Right, and with that, his athletic ability, you know, play basketball as well.
Yeah.
He jumps out of the gym, you know, every time. He's just
the guy broke a NFL goal. Going to dunk it after a touchdown.
He's huge, and I know that personally, whenever the Saints come to town or whenever we go down there, I know we're going to get a heavy dose of Jimmy Graham, and whether it's blocking, out slot, over at his normal tight end position, he's a handful, and just if it comes from Luke, Luke's a pretty darn good, what was he? The defensive rookie of the year, his first year. For a guy like that to give him a compliment like that, it all goes back to, I think he deserves it. I think it's in the cards for him to make that money and for them to do away with this system that we have now.
Yeah, hopefully the league will be able to change that in the future for players like Jimmy Graham, because it seems to be an evolving position and it's only going to remain a problem in the future years. Staying on path with your Carolina Panthers, however, they're making a lot of changes at wide receiver and also a lot of changes they're doing with the renovations to the stadium.
Right. A lot of fans, myself included, were just in shock when we let go of our entire receiving group. And it gave me a little confidence to see Cam come out, publicly on Facebook and stuff and be like, we're not going to worry about this. We're going to build a team. We're going to start over. And the group that they have now, as far as Jason Avant from the Eagles, we've got Jericho Cotry, he's going to be our leader to teach these younger guys. And then we've got a stable of the younger guys who, I hope they can all develop. They've all looked like they got great size. And then, of course, Kelvin Benjamin, you talk about size.
Right.
That guy's got it.
He has the one dynamic that I felt the Panthers lacked last year. Now, losing a guy like Steve Smith, you're obviously going to lose some leadership, and that will hurt that offense. But getting a guy like Kelvin Benjamin, someone who has that size, that elite size, coming in the league at 6'5", 225 pounds, that's going to be difficult for any team.
Right.
Any team. And I think it's a dynamic you guys needed to concentrate on, because he does have something you don't have at that position.
Right. I was looking at his numbers while he played at Florida State.
Yeah.
He had
came into Florida State a little bit of an underrated guy. Had size, had good hands. Just not the best route running ability, but made the best of it.
I went to the ACC championship here in Charlotte, and watched him play, and he's literally standing head and shoulders above everybody else.
Right.
And then he can jump out of the gym as well. Mm-hmm. So I think the best thing that the Panthers did in the offseason, and a lot of people might criticize me for this, is to bring Jericho Cotry in, because he's got that veteran mentality where he's going to go in, he's going to be the leader of that wide receiver group. And to have a guy like Jericho teaching your brand new, rookie and Benjamin, that's going to be amazing. I think that could, if he would just focus his energy and channel it and learn as much as he can from Jericho while he's here, whether it's 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, whatever it is, however left on his career, I feel like that's going to be an invaluable thing for our receiving group, just to have Jericho in the stable.
Another thing for Panther fans to get excited about, the new monitors at the stadium are outstanding. Now ranking 4th in the league, only behind Dallas, who is 3rd, Jerry World, and along with, who would have known, Houston at number 2, and Jacksonville with the number 1 spot with the largest monitors.
I didn't know that at all. I thought Dallas had that hands down.
Oh yeah, it goes from the 20 to the 20.
20 to 20, and they're
3rd.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think the renovations were made strictly for me. I think they had to throw a press box in there for us. We needed some stuff. I'm super stoked about the monitors. That comes with brand new replay equipment and all that.
Yeah, the sound system is going to be bar none. I mean, it's going to be amazing. Right. The sound towers at the stadium, the place is going to sound incredible. And the new monitors really it's the icing on the cake. They literally dwarf the size of their old monitors.
Right, and they're also going to have fast pass entrances for press box level.
Yeah.
They're getting some escalators, things like that. That's going to free up the other entrances and make everybody's entrance into the stadium a little bit easier, I think.
Yeah, and other NFL news, moving on to the Jets. The Jets did sign Michael Vick. It's going to be weird seeing him in that number 8 jersey. Geno didn't want to give up number 7. But now with those 3 types of quarterbacks, you have Geno Smith, Michael Vick, and the guy from Clemson, Taj Boyd. Mm-hmm. Plaxico Burress went on NFL Live today and said that he believes Michael Vick will be the starter come week 1. Your thoughts?
I think, I'm a huge Michael Vick fan, but I'm also a diehard West Virginia fan, so I want to see Geno do well, because we've been yearning to have some NFL quality or some West Virginia players to reach greatness in the NFL, and it's, yet to happen. We had Mark Bolger, guys like that.
Yeah.
But I think Geno stands a great chance if he can sit there and learn from Mike. Mike's been through it all,
Well, Mike is the exception to me. I think all 3 guys kind of fit the same mold. I think they're going for more of a dual threat kind of deal, which is obvious when you look at all 3 players. But Michael Vick has always been the dual threat quarterback exception for me. Now, I came up with, bigger dual threat quarterbacks like Dante Culpepper, Donovan McNabb, big body guys, Steve McNair, guys that could get it done on their legs. But Michael Vick just gives you something you don't have from the quarterback position, that elite speed and elusiveness. And he will always be the exception in my eyes.
And in my opinion, over the past couple years since his return to the NFL, his accuracy is so much better than it was in Atlanta.
Oh, yeah. I agree.
So much better. And he's always had an amazing velocity on the football. So it'll be exciting to see what that group can do together, especially, bringing Taj in there. I love a little Taj Boyd in my life. So
yeah. Well, I'm anxious to see what happens with it. I'll have to agree with Plexico. I do think Michael Vick will be the starter come week 1. Yeah. When we return, we'll get going with NBA action as free agency has been shaken up big time. More on Charlotte Sports Report when we return.
Keep it locked.
I'm Andre Humphrey, and I'm a logger at ESPNU. The Carolina School of Broadcasting prepared me for my job by providing real-world experience with real-world tools. Well, the internship was great for me because it was a direct, smooth transition to the real world. The Avid and Edius software that we use at WBTV is the exact same system that you use at ESPN, so it was a smooth transition to what I do in the real world.
It seemed like just yesterday the San Antonio Spurs beat the Miami Heat in a great fashion to get Greg Popovich and Tim Duncan their 5th championship. In just this short offseason, things have shaken up crazy. Free agency has been wild. Justin, I know you have to have a big opinion on what's been going on. LeBron James going back home to Cleveland, and I never would have gave them a shot at the end of the season. I would have thought for sure he would have stayed with Miami.
Yeah, I felt like he was going to stay with Miami. I wasn't sure if the Big Three would stay intact, but I thought LeBron wasn't done in Miami yet.
Yeah.
I felt like maybe 2 was kind of a letdown. When they started talking about off the bat, 5, 6, 7, all that, and then 2 championships and the band falls apart. I kind of was disappointed in that, but on the other hand, having family up in that region of the country, to see him go home to Cleveland, I have mixed emotions because I remember the burning the jerseys in the streets and we hate LeBron now, and everybody, just abandoned him. And now you're already seeing it. It's the biggest thing on Facebook. It's trending everywhere. LeBron's coming home, and they're all back in love with LeBron. So to me, that's a fair weather fan. If you're going to love LeBron, you better love him no matter what jersey he puts on, because no matter who's your team, it doesn't matter who your team is, he could be playing for your team in 2 years.
And I think that's the problem with a lot of NBA fans right now. They're pulling for players more so than teams. And something with this entire free agency shakeup, LeBron going back home, to me it worries me. Because when I think LeBron James, I'm thinking, is he in contention for greatest of all time? Does he have the talent? Yes. He definitely has the talent. He's the most talented player in the world. But when you talk about how you want to catch Kareem at 5, you want to catch Michael Jordan at 6, Kobe at 5, you had that opportunity in Miami. You won
with the front office to support it.
Exactly. And you've got Pat Riley, Eric Spoelstra. They had a great crew. I mean, they won 4 straight Eastern Conference Finals. Now, in my opinion, do I think he should have left? That's not for me to decide. I get why he's wanting to leave, but when he came to Miami, the main goal for LeBron was championships. We all knew that.
Yep.
And now it seems his main focus is going back home, ending his career as a Cavalier in Ohio to raise his now 3 children in the same state he grew up in. And to me, I have a bit of a problem with that because I just don't think that's the best for LeBron James. I think he should have stayed in Miami. Now, I do know, Dwayne Wade is getting a little older, this and that. You got great point guard in Kyrie Irving, but as good as Kyrie is, they lost more than half their games last year. They won 32 games last year. Right. And I know you're bringing in Andrew Wiggins, who is said to be the next coming of LeBron. And the guy's ceiling is through the roof. His athleticism is unprecedented. But for him to go back to Cleveland, I feel like he's trying to make everyone happy right now. And I don't think it's going to put him in spot on that Mount Rushmore of players.
Right, and that was the conversation, you remember, right before the playoffs started, or during the playoffs, you know, where do you put LeBron in best all time? And
Right.
like you said, I feel like he could have gave us some more time in Miami. They should have, you know, I was hoping that they would work something out to where they'd be together for at least one more year.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's too early for him to pack his bags and go back home to retire. You know, it's like he's 28 years old, 3 kids. I understand that the kid thing, he wants to raise them where his family is and the schools he went to and the places that he knows people. But on the other hand, you're in the business of basketball. You're in
Right.
the business of winning championships, and you've taken yourself totally out of contention to even. Were they even in the playoffs last year?
No, and they had a struggling time in the Eastern Conference.
They traded half their team to Toronto, did they not?
Well, in a way, but my thing with Cleveland is they have young talent. They've got Anderson Varejao, who's, I feel like he's a good defensive player. I feel like he is. But bringing LeBron back is huge for Cleveland. However, I still just think they're going to be a couple years away. Now, when he came to Miami, they struggled at first, but they still went to the finals that year. They lost to Dallas. You're not going to have that quick of a transition to success in Cleveland. This is going to be a long process, a longer process than it was in Miami. And my thing is, as quick as these fans were to turn on LeBron, how are they going to feel at the end of the season when they don't make it to the finals? Because you know that's what they're expecting.
That is the expectation. You know, they expect LeBron to come in. You know, they surround him with a few other players, you know, to include Kyrie Irving, who's already there, and for them to go and be where the Heat were this year.
Right.
And better, obviously. I think that's an unfair expectation because I don't feel like the franchise is of that caliber. You know, they've got some growing to do in that front office, in the, you know, even as far down to like the training staff and stuff. It's just not on the same level as a San Antonio or a Miami. You know, it's just they want him so bad for the brand that they can portray to the NBA. You know, put butts in the seats. That's what they want to do.
And they will.
Oh, yeah,
With
absolutely.
LeBron,
And
they will.
They'll sell all those jerseys that got burned. They'll sell. Oh, by the way, interesting fact. I heard LeBron was going to be wearing 32, his old high school number from Akron.
Really?
Yeah, I saw that the other day on
Well,
the
I knew
news.
he wasn't going to go back to the old 23.
Yeah, but they
He doesn't
burned
want
them
to
all.
Well, that's a good point. That's a good point. You know, he doesn't want to put himself in that same limelight as Michael Jordan. But, you know, one thing for LeBron James, he's never wanted to be anyone else but LeBron James.
Right.
He'll always get that comparison to the greatest of all time just because of the player he is. But for him, I feel like going back to Cleveland probably wasn't the best thing to do right now.
Too early. I agree with
agree.
you. Too early. Maybe
I agree, too
I'd say, what, 2-3 years too early?
Yeah.
Probably 2 years.
I could go there with you. And, you know, he's gone on record to say the only team he would leave Miami for is Cleveland. And, you know, now that that's here, that's finally happened, I just don't think it was the best thing for LeBron. I guess only time will tell. He does have some young talent there, and he is definitely the type of player that can instantly put you in contention for the playoffs. But championship caliber, not yet.
It's not there yet.
Not yet. Moving on, going to the Charlotte Hornets, P.J. Hairston, first-round pick. Big-time player, North Carolina. We all know he was kicked off the team. He just happened to be in a car that belonged to a drug dealer. You know, I guess those things happen.
That does happen, and it doesn't help when this latest thing, he was allowing somebody who's had a few offenses in the NFL,
Mr. Josh Gordon.
Yeah, Josh Gordon was driving his vehicle.
Pulled over for a DWI in P.J. Hairston's car. And in that same weekend, P.J. Hairston hits a kid in a pickup game at a YMCA in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Right.
What's that about?
He's playing a game in Raleigh, and just at the normal YMCA. And the story goes that it was totally unprovoked, that the kid was playing very soft defense, you know, wasn't trying, he knew who he was, wasn't going to, you know, jeopardize his career. And PJ got excited, got carried away, and just hauled off and slugged the guy.
I think PJ's a great player. I think he's a hothead. I think he's definitely going to be a work in progress, but I'm really excited about the Charlotte Hornets.
Oh, yeah. We've got a brand new floor. We've got everything coming up. So
The buzz is back.
The buzz is back. You guys keep it right here with us, Charlotte Sports Report.
We'll be right back.
I'm the station manager here at the Carolina School of Broadcasting, and this is our on-air studio for our student-run radio station. You may know some of our graduates.
I'm Mark Seidel, I'm a producer and board op on WFNZ.
Brandon Pollock, go by Brandon Chase, and I do afternoons for WKQC.
Travis Hancock, I'm the producer for the Mac Attack Morning Show.
Hey, I'm Kate Hall, and I am on air with WKQC K104.7.
Spend your life in HD, only at the Carolina School of Broadcasting.
Carolina School of Broadcasting, go!
After winning 11 straight, a disappointing end of the season for my Crimson Tide, coming up short against Auburn with the kick six and then losing in the Sugar Bowl to Oklahoma. Now comes the long-dreaded offseason and the fire under Nick Saban's team. Will they be ready? August 30th is the opener, and we're opening against this man's favorite team, West Virginia. So, Justin, I know you guys are going to give us a little different dynamic than we're used to seeing, and I like that as a fan. I think it gives us something to prepare for and something to look forward to a little different. I think it's a great start for our team. Your thoughts?
Right. And West Virginia, you know, you're not going to have the massive size that you do in the SEC. And so we compensate for that. We'll spread you out and try to get you, get some space to find those bubbles and those gaps to run in. But at the same time, you have to respect the outside threats. We've got some small, fast guys. We love to swing the ball out real quick, on a quick silent count. They love to just throw it out there on screens. And I think that, we'll give you a little bit of trouble for a while, but I think overall the size and the physicalness of that SEC brand and, of course, Coach Saban, by the way, who is from West Virginia, Clarksburg.
West Virginia man.
I got to coach a football game in his stadium, actually. I think,
I believe that's Nick Saban's senior stadium.
Yeah, senior. You're right. Sorry. You are the man on that one. Yeah. I think that when we'll hang in there for the first part of it, but I mean, it's Alabama. And if we keep it respectable within 2 touchdowns, I'll be happy.
Well, I'm certainly not going to overlook any team. I think coming into the season, we have a lot of talent. I think top to bottom, we have more talent in the SEC, and I know that may sound biased coming from me, but it just is. We've had 4 straight #1 recruiting classes, and we've topped that off again with the strongest recruiting year Nick Saban has had since he's been at Alabama since 2007, signing 6 5-stars. Now, I know you can never put everything all into those star rankings, but it does give you some good feeling when you're bringing in the top guys at their position. Now, talking about West Virginia, I think one interesting thing about this game, both teams are going to have quarterbacks that are transfers from the same school. Clint Trickett from Florida State, Jacob Coker, who isn't named the starter yet for Alabama, but is most likely going to be our starter from day one. If he doesn't, it'll have to go to Cooper Bateman. But right now, with everything I've read from Coker, which has been great things, it just seems like he has the arm and the maturity and that college football experience to go ahead and step right in.
Right, and the one thing I do like about Coker a little more than I do Clint is his toughness. It felt like last year watching Clint play ball, he was a little shaky back there, and when he took a hit, he was really hurting. Because he's not a big guy. He's tall, but he's skinny. And Coker seems to have a little bit more toughness, can move a little better in the pocket.
A little more size, 6'5", 230.
Yeah, bigger guy. But somewhere down the line, these two both were, they picked up some good coaching from somebody, and they're really solid quarterbacks. They're going to both do great things for their team. It's just, let's see if Clint can handle that defense, and if our O-line can stop your D-line, because I know you got some monsters out there with some serious speed. And, I just hope that Clint and West Virginia bring their A game, because that's going to be the toughest game on their schedule.
I think the biggest thing for Jacob Coker and really whoever takes that starting quarterback role for Alabama is just going to be maintaining the flow of the game. First start, whoever makes that start is going to be their first start. And I would like to throw this stat out. The last 2 quarterbacks Alabama's had to start in their first year have gone on to win the national championship. Greg McElroy did it going undefeated in 2009, and of course A.J. McCarron did the same thing in 2011.
They've definitely got some good coaches there, and they're producing NFL caliber quarterbacks every year.
Yeah.
And NFL caliber across the board, it seems like.
Yeah.
So the coaching staff, it goes back to our last segment talking about the people in the front office, the people around it. You know, Alabama doesn't have an NFL team. They're all in.
That's our only outlet. That's why I feel like the rivalry, the Alabama-Auburn rivalry, is so huge in the state of Alabama, because there is no pro outlet to run towards. We are college football. We love college football because that's really all we have.
Right.
And looking into it, I think it's great. I think, you know, the past year for Auburn was great. Obviously, I was disappointed in the way things ended in the Iron Bowl. But I think it's great for the state of Alabama to have those two teams really pump it up a notch. Now, when you look at winning a championship game, obviously the nod goes to Alabama there, because we've blown out our last two opponents in the national championship game. But coming into this season, things are going to be a little different. It always worries me when we start a new quarterback, and I'm anxious to see who we put behind center and how they really feel in that first game, because for both teams it's going to be hard to prepare, you know, because West Virginia gives us something we don't normally see. You guys do like to spread things out. In the past, that's given us problems. Coming off I feel like one of the worst years we've had in our secondary. We got two guys, 2 5-stars coming in that could contribute very early at corner, but at the same time, you know, as much talent as they have, they're still freshmen.
And you're looking at Ha-Ha.
We did lose Ha-Ha. Now, Landon Collins is an absolute freak.
Okay.
I will give him that. He's actually one of our people going to SEC Media Day this week. We'll be there Thursday.
Cool.
Alabama's Day's Thursday. Landon Collins is going to be an absolute terror next year in the secondary. He was last year. He had a great year. But one thing I'm just a little worried about with your offense, with West Virginia's offense, is the fact that they do spread it out. They like to take the pace of the game a little faster, and for a bigger team that can pose a challenge.
Yeah, and that's Dana Holgerson's bread and butter, you know, and it was at Oklahoma State, and he's stuck with it. You know, he loves the flow screens, the bubble screens. He likes to get 5 guys out there and then start moving them in motion. Sometimes I expect right off the bat we're going to go no huddle. You know, we're not going to huddle. We're going to be looking to the sideline for the call. You're going to see bunch of guys doing all kinds of crazy hand signals, and we're going to go, you know, because, you know, that's pretty much the only thing we can do to throw you guys off in any way is silent counts, you know, no count, and just everybody get the play. We don't huddle, and we're going. We got to keep the pedal to the metal against Alabama, and just pray that our defense can hang in there and we can find a weakness.
Well, I can tell you one thing, as an Alabama fan, one thing that I see a lot of teams make a mistake of is they try to start off the game too fast, and when you do that against a team with such a good defense, you know, 2 empty possessions can really hurt you. 2 empty early possessions and 2 good possessions for the opposing team's offense, you know, you're looking at your down 2 scores, and that's going to hurt.
And we can't turn the ball over either, because you guys take, you know, your turnover to point ratio is amazing. I mean, if you turn the ball over against Alabama, they're going to put the points on the board, whether it's 3 or 7, they're going to do it.
Yeah. And one thing I think for Alabama, the X factor, I would have to say for us, the X factor player for the University of Alabama has to be Derrick Henry. He is so different than anything I've ever seen in college football. You know, when you look at a running back, you don't typically see 6'3", 240-pound running backs. He's a Marcus Dupree, Eddie George hybrid type, and I think he's going to have a great year, and I think he's going to pose a real challenge for West Virginia. But moving on, looking at the BCS, I'm glad that's over. We're finally here for a college football playoff.
Finally.
I'm so excited. I've been waiting for, God, it feels like 15 years for this.
Forever. Since I started watching football, I was looking at the system of, you know, we're still going to have the rankings, which is fine. You know, those are going to come from the Associated Press.
Yeah, the AP's got to have their part. Yeah, the media's going to have their part.
Well, just to have that bracket of 4 playing 2 playoff games and then the big one, it's going to be awesome.
Well, I've waited an entire year for this, and we've only got about 45 more days. August 30th can't get here soon enough. Roll Tide, Justin.
Chick-fil-A Bowl down in
Atlanta, Georgia.
We'll be there.
August 30th. But, guys, I want to thank you for joining us here on Charlotte Sports Report. I'm Dalton Bearden.
And I'm Justin Jeffers.
Thank you.